Okay, I think we're on. 1 2 1 2. Let's check Twitch if we can hear. Yep, and YouTube. How is it on YouTube? Is there an audio on YouTube? Yep. Microphone quality is shit. Let me quickly fix. It should be okay right now. Let's check it. 1 2 1 2 do 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 do. 1 2 1 2 do 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 do. 1 1 2 2. Okay, and on YouTube? How's it on YouTube? Blah 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 blah. Okay. We got it locked down. We got that shit. We got that. Let me just quickly. Okay, I'm ready for streaming today. Hello everyone on this beautiful Sunday morning. I hope this day finds you well. Today, there's something iffy with my water. Give me a sec, I need to remedy that. That's a great start. Oh, hello MK. Hello Magda. I have a nice start to water. I took a sip and it's like something stale with my water. It will be a good stream, I can tell. I'll be back in a second. Now it's correctamundo. Someone's writing to me. Give me a sec. Okay. So, I think I'm ready to start streaming. Today's stream will be a little bit different. I'm not doing design stream today. I'm taking a little pause there because Unreal Engine 5.5 dropped, or preview of it dropped just like a hot second ago. And I wanted to look around, especially at PCG plugin, which is Procedural Content Generation. I already used it in like professional capacity for gameplay purposes. And I always been fascinated by this plugin. I think it has amazing, enormous potential to right now not only do things for level art and environments, but it seems like you could create some kind of buildings with that. There's lots of gameplay capabilities in there, and I always look forward to seeing what's new in the newest version of Unreal Engine, what the team behind PCG cooked up for us. And I wanted to do a couple of streams one or two, I don't know how long it will take, dedicated to trying out new nodes with PCG. There were a couple of ones that I was waiting for a long time, like Poisson, generating points. And yeah, let's get to it. I already enabled my plugins. Sion, hello! Hi! Hi Jezik! Hi Magda, nice to have you here. I wonder if Barabash is here, but he is silent. He revealed that he was on streams a couple of times. Last two streams, I think. And he was silent. He was just watching me. And he didn't want to say hello. Yeah, so I enabled already my PCG plugins. First of all, there's a main PCG. The main PCG plugin, then the couple of plugins that allow exchanging information between that plugin and, for example, Geometry Script, Niagara, and Water. I wanted to enable them just so if I will have an inspiration to do something with them, I will be able to use them. But without further ado, let's check out Unreal Engine product board, because that's where they showed off what new things they did for Unreal Engine. There is this site, Unreal Engine Public Roadmap. You can just type in Unreal Engine product board and you will see all the kinds of stuff that the team behind Unreal Engine cooked up for the new release. Right now there's a 5.5 preview, and what I'm most interested about is this procedural content generation stuff. Sion asks, Ado, tell me, how you started your day today? I started it very happy, well rested, but you know, I am that type of guy that even if I'm well rested, I could still sleep for 5 hours. Yeah, so I started this day lying on my ass. If that's what you're asking, Jezik, about. Okay, so we have a couple of new stuff. And I wanted to look at this especially, additional nodes and operands. That's what I was most curious about. There are lots of new nodes, and I wanted to save a couple of those for myself. I mean, write down what I want to test today. The first one would be create point sphere. That's something that I am super interested in, because for now you are able to kind of create a sphere of points, but you had to go a little bit around that. No algorithms were implemented. But now it looks like they implemented a couple of algorithms. The one I'm most interested in is Poisson, because that's the one that gives the best results from what I hear. Cluster is also something that I... Sion says he will be right back. Okay, no problemo. Cluster is the one that I also been interested in because, and let me tell you why. If we are generating lots of points on our landscape, let me quickly jot it down. Let's say we have lots of points around landscape, right? And we want to do some operations, but not on all of the points. We kind of want to group them together, like let's say, for example, take some points and treat them as one group in here. Then let's take another group of points and treat them as a group in here. And let's take another group of points and treat them as a group in here, and so on, right? And thanks to clustering algorithms, we can do that kind of, or should I say cluster heuristics, we can gather those points, group them into one group, and apply one operation to this group, another operation to this group, apply some attributes to this group, a different set of attributes to this group, right? Different operation to another group, and so on, right? And thanks to that, we can achieve more variation in our points, or maybe straight up decide that, hey, this cluster group will always spawn trees, for example. This will always spawn cacti. I think that's the plural of cactus. This will always be some water plants. And this will be something else. I don't know, alien plants, whatever, right? But the fact is that we can generate a lot of points, then cluster them, and to each cluster apply something different, right? And treat them in that way. Maybe cull some points but only in a specific cluster, right? So that's one of the nodes that I'm super interested about. Random choice is also something that I had to do it on my own. Create my own node for that type of stuff. That one I don't know, edge component, what it is. But that's kind of what I want to test out. There's also wait until landscape ready. So if we are editing something on a landscape, in previous versions of Unreal Engine, every change to a landscape cache triggered regeneration of PCG, which in bigger projects, or when we are editing landscape very often, it was infuriating to constantly see PCG regenerating. So from what I understand here, we can toggle an option, ignore landscape tracking. And we can do changes to landscape and then toggle it off, and then we generate on our freshly prepared landscape instead of generating with each and every edit. We can add some more tags, sort by tag value, etc., etc. I am super interested in all of that stuff. I also want to see if we look at this small note that they created, there's something called grammar. I'm not really sure what it is. I wonder if they provided some example in there, because from looking at it, it looks like we could procedurally, modularly create some buildings, create some architecture. I wonder how this works out. It is something that they kinda did in Matrix demo, but that they used Houdini from what I understand there. If we could achieve something like this with PCG, that is awesome. And I've seen projects when people on Discord, and not only on Discord, on Twitter, etc., they were creating their own building generators, but to see that Epic Games added new way of doing this, possibly simpler, it's nice. We also have some data layer support. I won't be using it that much, but it's nice to see that you can pack your actors with PCG components or PCG volumes inside of the data layer, and then, you know, unload those data layers, load them on demand, etc., etc., and do the typical data layers operations. There's some geometry processing that I also am not sure what it is yet, but it seems nice. Pathfinding, so that uses A* search heuristic. That it can create some path, and then we can sample it and spawn some things along the path, which also can prove very awesome. They also added GPU compute and GPU spawning from what I understand. which means that we could use GPU power for processing sets of data instead of CPU, so it should be simpler. Elevation isoline, which is amazing because we can start spawning things only on edges at the specific height. Before that, we kind of had to do that. We had to create this algorithm manually, etc, etc, etc. So I want to go through a couple of things like that. Okay, let's get to the editor and start looking at those things. Firstly, let's see if we have any. If we look at plugins in Engine, if we have any examples of these grammar thingies. I won't be dissecting them fully here, but I was just wondering if there are examples of this. And there are a couple of examples here. A couple of folders. PCG content regular, external data interrupt, geometry script, Niagara and water. Let's look through regular content. Sample content. What do we have here? There is something for grammar. Nice. And I see they added a couple of more examples, because there used to be only like 3 or something. Let's look at all of them. Let's look at grammar. Okay, we have some things. And here. Experimental. Building from primitive. Same rules as the building BP, but extract the splines from primitives. For this example, head to PCG geometry script. Plugin content. Okay. I don't know what that means. First, use the spline to generate a few flows. Then for each flow, use some shape grammar to assign meshes. Huh. But there is something. There is something that could be used as a learning tool for those grammar thingies. I wonder what that is. Building sample. Okay, PCG. And there is some building sample. There is some graph in here. Okay, there's something to dissect. That's good. That's good. Nice, nice. There's some parameter overrides. Building height, and if I change it to like 3000. Oh, it automatically generates upwards. And 500. And it's a 1 floor. Nice. Module info. Mesh info. Oh, we could swap out meshes, etc. Nice, nice, great. It's good to see that we have example of that. Simple forest already was there, and those two things I think also were there. Let's look at hygiene forest. What's that? It is some kind of forest. Hi Seon, you're back. My name is Slim Seon. I'm back. I'm back. It is some kind of forest. Oh wow, if we are getting closer, we actually get those details. What happens if I press play? Ah, there is no... I think this example is work in progress. Maya says the building looks like a pig farm building. Kinda, I can see that. Hi Maya. Okay, so this example might be still work in progress. Default unbound cell. Yeah, I don't see anything that I could delve deep in this example. Let's look. I looked at grammar. I looked at this. Let's look at flatness detection level. Let's see that. What is this? What does it do? It gets landscape data, it samples it, creates some tags, and then spawns some debug cubes. Not really sure how it samples and how it does that, but I thought, to be honest, that this example will be more about those ISO lines, but it is not. It is about detecting flat and uneven surfaces. And from what I understand, these cubes are approximation of how big the flat surface is alongside the curvature of a landscape. Interesting. Those are different samplers with different data sets. Small, medium, largest. Then things are getting discarded with some different graph. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. So this is this kind of example. And I think these are the only new ones examples here. There's also PCG biome, but that's for another time. There's geometry script example, another one. Welcome to the pig farm once again. A lot of pitfalls for now. Okay, so I'm not really looking at this. Let's look into Niagara. Nothing really. And water interrupt also doesn't have examples. Okay. Okay. So I guess that's the one I don't think I remember. Let's look at this one. Shaders are still being built. I'm completely unsure what is that. I think this is like a mesh, right? And the way it works, they created a graph that samples things but only inside of a mesh, which is kind of cool. If you have like some cave or something and you can just use the collision of a cave to indicate the volume in which you are sampling the landscape or whatever you want to sample. Am I right or am I wrong? Spawn points outside of mesh, and here's spawn point. What the hell? Yeah, spawn points inside mesh, and it's surface sampling, and intersect with actor geometry, but it's deprecated. Okay, so I'm not gonna pay more attention to that. Okay, so now we're on our own. I thought there would be more sample examples for me to look on, but there aren't. So we have to go on our own. Let's save this level. Save current level as new folder. Tests. Not very creative, but new nodes tests. Okay. How are you doing? How is your day going? Let's create a new PCG graph. Maybe new folder for the graphs, because I might be making a few to test out things. And let's create PCG. There's some new asset called PCG builder settings. Okay. PCG new nodes tests. Or should I say experiments? Let's see. I want to try out those ISO lines. Elevation ISO lines. What is that? How do you sample that? Get landscape data and do this. And then I can just debug it. Does it work like this? Can I look at the ISO lines? Let me do... No. There are ISO lines forming. That's awesome. That's exactly what I would want. Oh my god, if it was here like half a year ago, that would be awesome. And even more ISO lines. There's something weird going on in here, that it detected ISO lines here. I don't know how. But why isn't it detecting here? It's being spawned here. Maybe I should make it even bigger. Those ISO lines are funky, from what I see. It detects flat ISO lines in here, going up, and then nothing. Let's look at the node. Maybe there are some parameters. Oh yeah, there are parameters, of course. Elevation end. No, like 5,000. Come on, man. Woo! It is taxing on the CPU, from what I can tell. Now I have lots of ISO lines, but still not enough to cover all of that. Okay, first of all, let me pause generate. First, let me do generate on demand. And wait a second. What kind of new options do we have here? Editing mode, normal, preview. Okay. Let's change to preview then. And let's pause regeneration, because I want to play around with those variables. Elevation start, maybe also like minus 20, minus 50. Maybe do 150. Resolution can be 200. We can add tag on output for same elevation. Ooh, okay. Project surface normal. Okay, and output as spline. That's very interesting. I don't know why it detects ISO lines in thin air here. That might be just a bug. of this version. Said like a true Polish person. How about 2 times? Yes, that's what I wanted. I have isolines. That's good. That's good. And what if I output it as spline? It will take some time from what I can see. But I have splines right now. Why is this so exciting? Why am I even talking? Why am I... Oh. Oh, okay. It still detected this weird stuff. So I probably... And it's... Yeah. From every side it did this funny bug. So... Or maybe it is working as intended and I should just make this whole thing a little bit smaller. Maybe like 800. It's too far. 1000. I don't want to generate right now. Let me deactivate the component. And then... correct all the values. Okay, this seems almost right. Can always just move it a little bit. Maybe I could make it 900 here. Maybe 800. And 800 here. Yeah, and now let's sample it. Freeze! It freezed off, but I got some nice isolines, hopefully without the bug of yes. Okay, don't output as spline, let's use it as points. What I can do with it now. Let's look at how those points look like, their data. What kind of new information do we have here? Oh, no new information, okay. But what add tag on output for same elevation, okay. It didn't add any new... Huh. Any new information? I was thinking that maybe if I'm creating those isolines, I will have additional column here that will tell me the exact height of the isoline. But I guess I could just use position Z, or maybe not, because everything is at 200, which I kinda don't get. Okay. Maybe let's spawn something in here along those isolines. But I wonder how the data changes when I will output it as spline. Does it change that much? Not really. Everything has a Z position as 200. I'm not very happy about that, but okay. Ah, I had pause for generation. Great. How about now? Oh, I'm a Dumbo. That's what's going on. There are different isolines here, but these are all different freaking sets of points. Okay. Right, okay, so let's try. I will show you what we will try to do. What we will try to do is, I have this bundle with stylized assets, right? Let's take something from biome red. I have a nice mesh here. Of stylized red tree. Let's... Why is this material? Error on property normal. Error on property base color. Error on property specular. Error on property roughness. That's good. Why there are errors here? Okay, that's something to debug later. Or maybe find a different asset. I don't know why it has this problem. Materials. No, I don't want to look at materials. I wanted to look at desert. Yeah, let's maybe use the palm tree then. Stylized palm tree. Will this work? Not really. Palm bark also has some problems. Okay, things to work out later. Thankfully those green leaves are there. What I want to do maybe is spawn palm trees on a low altitude isolines and red trees on high altitude isolines. Let's do something like this. But I don't know how to break those things into those specific isolines, right? How to access those? There's a PCG point data. It's all in the same output, but in a different set of data. I don't know how to access it, I'll be honest. You could generate... Guy DS10 says, hello everyone, hello! Hello, hello. How do I get this? Attribute set to point. That's not exactly what I'm trying to do here. Elevation isolines, that's what I got here. Get points count, nope. Get landscape data, nope. Okay, if I just get those points and do like spawn oh, there's spawn dynamic mesh. There's something new. Static mesh spawner, that's what I want. And if I just add my mesh of tree here, right? Yeah, let it be instant static mesh, everything as default. And if I'll just point it here, it will probably spawn trees on all isolines, yeah. It looks kind of funky. That's not exactly what I want to do. I wanted to spawn these only in the higher altitudes of isolines. I could always, of course, you know, filter out points with data above, I don't know, 440, etc. But I wanted to specifically be able to point to this specific PCG point data and say, hey, only use elevation ID 8. and only spawn on that. That would be awesome. And I use the option of add a tag integer to group output. Group. Okay, what about group? Nothing like that. Point data. Data count, save PCG data asset. That is something that I will want to do in a second. And landscape data. How to data tags to attribute set. That seems like something interesting. Because it basically from what I understand, it just turned all of these groups of assets into singular true or false. I don't think that's what I wanted. How can I detect a specific isoline here? Filter, attribute filter, that's one way. It should be somewhere in the filters. Attribute filter, it's just an attribute filter. Range, density filter, no. Discard poison, irregular surface. That's a nice. By index, by tag. How does that work? Keep tag, remove tag, equal, and selected tag. I'm not sure how that works out. And what kind of tag it requires? Is it like that? Let's see. Save 13. And what it do? It actually works like this. Wow! So I found a way to filter out a very specific elevation. And I have only those points. And then I can just connect this to my static mesh spawner. And if I minimize it, I should get red trees only on a specific isoline. That's really cool. And probably this isoline is not detected here. There is some visual bug here, or maybe detection bug. But it's cool. That's the way I can select very specific PCG point data. But what happens if I don't have add tag on output for same elevation? How does that data change? Oh, it's just lots of PCG point data. Okay. So that's how it operates. So if I want to have something on the higher altitude, I can just, or a specific isoline, I can just use that. Elevation ID X27. It took a little bit of time, but we got there. We can select a very specific isoline and spawn on that. Right now it is isoline 27, which are, if we look at this, things around 6,700 meters above water level. And it is here. I'm not sure. I know why it's not detected, because my volume is not large enough, but okay. But look, it even detected these smaller ISO lines. That's really cool. That is really cool. Okay. And if I selected something lower, like let's say for example 8, which would be around 2000, it will of course be a little bit lower to the ground. Wow. That's really cool. So now I can do this. Do one filter tag. Let's pause regeneration for a little bit so we can work on our thingy here. Here it will be something, I don't know, higher in altitude. Let's say 25. I want this here. I want this to be even lower, like maybe 4. Static mesh spawner. I want to spawn green palm trees. Mesh entries, yes, yes. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I have it here, I have it here. Why it's not enabled, I'm not sure. Yeah, now everything is created, and I should have exactly palm trees lower and red trees higher in altitude. Nice. So ISO lines do work. Of course, in real world, I would probably more use something akin to filter. I think it was this. Attribute filter range. Or maybe just attribute filter from what I remember. Operator, yes. That way I could target the attribute of position Z. Dot Z. And everything, oh my god. Use constant threshold. And everything higher than, for example, 4000. And I could just connect it here. And then let me copy that stuff here too, but I want this to be, no, actually, let's not copy it. Let's just use filter, attribute filter range. Let's hook it up here. Use constant and use constant in here. Let's use the position dot Z for altitude. And between 0 and 1500. That way I can also realize the logic of, hey, on the high altitude spawn these things, and on the lower altitude spawn these things, but only along those ISO lines. And I got it. I can spawn things only along ISO lines on a very specific altitudes. Right now, of course, it is way overdone. It looks like I'm creating biology visualization of human cell or something like this. Or plant cell or whatever. But you catch my drift, right? That with the ISO lines I can detect the edges of landscape. So for example, let me add another thing. Why am I excited about this? To show it off. Let me quickly establish ignoring, maybe clean up all of that stuff. And There's supposed to be ignore landscape tracking. Yes. And let's deactivate it for a good measure. Let's use landscape tools for a second, hot second, and let's sculpt this stuff. Let's prepare some shaders. I don't understand why in that hot second, but brush size a little bit bigger, even bigger. Let's make this tall mountain. It is ugly, of course, but whatever. I just need this tall example here. And you will see in a hot second why I need this tall example. Okay, now let's smooth it out. Oh, I did something funny here. Okay, but whatever. Let's flatten this, but with a smaller brush. Oh my god! No! That's what I want? No, that's not really what I wanted. Okay, this one is okay. Okay. We have this kind of thingy here. And let's get back to our isolines. Let's stop ignoring landscape tracking. Let's activate it. Let's generate it. And let's maybe turn off our static meshes for a second. Yeah, I could have clicked pause, but I didn't, so I will have to wait. Right now we can see isolines going only up to this height. Let's extend it even further to like 30,000. If it detects 30,000, it should... Yes, exactly. And with that, I can try to target spawning very specific thing only along this... along this edge. So I want to grow some plants on specific height or above specific height, but only around edge of my tall mountain, right? As we can see, it is super dense, so we can lower the density of our sampling to like 500 or maybe even 1000. It will be even lesser, or maybe even 2000. It looks very weird. Let's output the spline so it will be more readable. It is even less readable right now. Okay. It behaves really weird. You cannot read this stuff for shit. I don't understand this. What's going on? Now it makes sense, or almost makes sense, not really. How about elevation increment of 1000 and resolution of 1000? Okay. We don't have as much isolines, but we are still there. Yeah. Okay, now let's target a specific height. Whoa, 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 whoa. A specific height here. This was like 4000. This is like between 1500 and 0. And I want to target only edges of this tall mountain, right? So let's do exactly that. Let's pause it first. Attribute filter once again. Let me show you of the difference. If I just sample landscape data, go here for position, .z for elevation, using constant threshold, and I just want all the things over 15,000. Let me turn off the debug and analyzing. I did something bad, I think. Ah, yes, I know what I did bad. Sample surface sampler. I should have added this instead of going like this. It still isn't right. What the hell? Ah, yes, of course. Debug. Let's put only things from inside the filter. And the difference here, if I connect, thank you Unreal, if I connected my filtering of height to landscape, I would get just all the points above certain threshold. In this case, it will be 15,000 meters, but I wouldn't be able to detect the edge, or I will have to come up with my own way of detecting edges, etc., wouldn't be that fun, right? But if I instead use isolines, and that's what they're here for, I get exact edges, right? And now just with manipulation of this value, which is the height, I can isolate specifically my edges. And now I will spawn only along this edge of this kind of a flat mountain. And for that I will use a different something, I don't know yet what, but some kind of tree. Maybe not palm, it doesn't belong here. What is biome dark? Oh, some dark tree, I like it. If the materials work. I don't know why bark tree material doesn't work. I don't get it. Maybe something else. Maybe some different biome. Biome dark, biome bamboo. What is global? Ah, grass. Okay, that's not what I'm interested in. Biome bamboo, material instances. Let's see what is here. Bamboo stick. Okay, let's have bamboo sticks grow in there. Mesh entry. Descriptor. And because I'm sampling isoline instead of just landscape data, and I'm targeting very specific height, I can only spawn things on the edge, on an isoline, over specific height. Now I could, of course, rotate those points, make them point, all of them point upwards instead of, along the normal. But I think there was on isoline, right? Project surface normal. If I discarded it, I could just have it like this, right? And to make it more prettier, I could just transform points, change scale a little bit between 0.5 and 1.5. and nothing happened, and I don't know why. I'm not really sure why nothing changed. That is weird. It should have worked out. What about rotation in the z-axis? What is going on in here? What about offset? Minus 50, plus 50. Or about 150. Something weird is going on. And I don't understand why. Can I turn them into union? Let's see what will happen here. Yep, and now I should have it all here. And still nothing. The scale isn't changed. It's the same for all the points. What in the holy mother of all living things? Why? Why the scale doesn't change? I have some weird bug right now. Okay, this is something to play with a little bit later. And debug it a little bit later. I'm not sure what is going on in here with my transform points node. Okay. So now I can hook up all of that stuff in. And now I have realized the logic of, hey, along this isoline, spawn my palm trees. From a specific height to another specific height, spawn my red trees, but only on isolines. So this mountain generally represents that the best. Low altitude isoline, spawn things around that. Isolines from here to here spawn those red trees. And on the crown of the mountain only spawn those assets. That's why isolines might be useful. Because you can spawn things on specific edges, specific isolines. And then you can either choose a very specific isoline or all the isolines above or between certain altitudes or any other parameters. If you're interested in that, that's really cool. So that was one thing. Let's disable all of those nodes right now. No, oh my god, that's enable. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Right now, let me try out with the points generation, sphere points generation. That's the other node that I wanted to look at. Spatial, will it be here? No. Oh, there's spatial noise. Brownian instance, nice. Spawners, subgraphs, no. Example assembly PCG. Okay. Execute blueprint, okay. Control flow, no. Generic. Yeah, there's something with grammar, but that's a completely different. That's a completely different stream for grammars and creating buildings on top of that. GPU, we can write our own custom HLSL, point generators and point processes and such, or our custom HLSL. Create points, that's what I wanted. Create point sphere, that's exactly what I wanted. Let's debug all of those. Or maybe it will be easier to just do this. And let's maybe visualize them as axis tripod. Yes. We don't have anything right now. I'm not sure why, but let's look at that. Sphere generation, geodesic, Poisson, of course. Coordinates, local maybe? Or maybe global, I don't care. Point orientation, radial. I'm wondering why I don't have any points. It should have it already. Oh, I have 8 points. I only have 8 points. Not visualized very well. Okay. Okay, so maybe I will delete this node and use a regular debug. And maybe I could use absolute and blow them up in proportions so I could actually see them in level. Oh yeah, they all concentrated around 0. Okay. Such a small sphere of points. Okay, now we're cooking. Now we can play around with that and learn how to use this node. Let me turn it into axis. Like I said, that might be a little bit easier at the moment. Origin, radius. Let's say it will be 800. Now we have a whole sphere of points. Okay. How about 10,000? And let's use... Okay, I went overboard with it. 1,000, let's be conservative. Maybe I will actually use those cubes. Maybe that was nice. Sample count. That probably steers how many points we can generate here. Yep. 1,000 points. And 5,000 radius. And we have such a sphere. That's awesome. Let's change point orientation to coordinate space. Local component. Original component. Local component. Poisson distance. Let's change this. Maybe let's increase the sample count once again. And let's play around with Poisson distance. Let's see what that how that affects things. Less and less points. The higher the Poisson distance, the amount of points is getting lower. Poisson max attempts. What about geodesic? Okay, angle. It just detects angle. This is done with segments, random, and Poisson. Okay. How about 0? Yes, that's how we can create a circle, boys and girls. Or a donut. Donut of points. Or just a circle. or a full thingy. A full thingy, only a top of the dome, etc, etc, etc. So let's put it as 0. Let's put it near 0. We have this halo. Okay. Here we can cut out parts of that circle. And from the other end, point steepness. I'm not really sure what point steepness does, I'll be honest. And I've been using PCG for almost a year. Basically from the moment it got released. And I'm not sure what point steepness actually does. Yeah. That's exactly what it does. Nice. We can generate the sphere of points and start spawning on that, or using that to ray trace thing and create a circle of points on the ground, etc, etc. And let me show you exactly how it would work out. That is actually interesting. Okay, but whatever. Oh. Yeah, but we can create like this sample here. Half of a sphere, right? Let's maybe decrease the amount of points a little bit, 2000. Now we have all these points and we can just project them down. Get landscape data, projection. That's my projection targets. These are my points. And nothing happened. Of course nothing happened. Because why things would work when they can just not work? What the hell happened here? Typical Unreal moment. I love that. Okay, let's use absolute. Oh, actually there are points here. They were just superbly tiny. Project position. And how about project scales? So no, these are super tiny. Points with the super tiny bounds. That sucks. Because if I use absolute extents, it shows that, yeah, I created a circle of points. Woo woo! That's great. And now I could, you know, give radius as a parameter to steer this thing. And get smaller circle, bigger circle, right? So right now we can do a cool logic in here. How about we cut out those and create a small PCG, new PCG, called PCG. How to call it? Detail around big mesh or whatever, right? And I will explain to you what I will try to do quickly. So I will be trying to create this logic that it will indicate here is my big mesh, for example tree, and here are my small things around that, and in another radius there are some other things around that, and even further are smaller things spawned here. If they didn't make sense, you will see the results in a second. So let's copy all that stuff here. and put it here as a small PCG volume. And now let's debug the projection, of course. Yes, we are not cooling outside of volume, so let's click that. And everything gets cooled out. I love that stuff. Whatever. We can create the first parameter of oh, okay. But I want to add new parameters. It used to be somewhere around here. What is going on? Oh, of course, I'm just blind. Instance parameters, new property. I can name it to first radius or something. Put it as 200 and then connect it get first radius to my radius, and that way I can just start steering this whole thing via graph instance parameters overrides, and I can start overriding this, and it will be changing the radius of this whole thing, right? Now I should also, of course, spawn something in the center, right? So I need to generate the point in the middle of this thing. So let's get to, I think it was spatial? No. Point ups? No. I'm always forgetting to which direction. Okay, but create points. That's exactly what I want. And I want to create only in my local component space. I want to create 1 point. Exactly that. And let me debug it. Let me debug it if it is that point as an axis tripod. And let's make it super big just to see if it is here. It is not here. Of course, why it would... No, it is here. It is here. If I turned it back into cube, we will see that we have a central cube, and around we have lots of smaller cubes. Thanks to the new Poisson. Okay. Maybe let's create a static mesh spawner. And maybe let's do the thing a new way. We can use PCG mesh selector by attribute. And attribute name will be mesh. And here we can have our point. We can add attribute to it. The new attribute will be named mesh. And it is of, I think it should be soft object path. I think. We will see in a second. And let's add the parameters of name of it will be static mesh soft object reference, I think. Yep, and let's use I don't know, cube once again, engine cube, right? Or whatever. Let's change the name of it, of course, as big mesh. And then because what I'm trying to do is to create a big table of points where the name of the mesh is just one of the properties, so we could change the meshes in here via parameters. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Let's see if I succeeded with that stuff. Not really. I have nothing selected here. Okay, cube. Okay, big mesh. And it has a path to my mesh here. Let's see if that will work out if I put it in static mesh spawner. Let's turn that off. It spawned a cube. And now if I will change it to a red tree, but in here, it should spawn a red tree. Examunto. Now let's also do another thing here. Maybe let's project this onto landscape projection once again. I got landscape data. And that's maybe, I don't need this, pause regeneration. Just to make sure that we have more of parameterization, let's add transform points node in here. And maybe let's give out a couple of these things as parameters, like for example, scale. And it should be uniform. So let's create a new parameter called big mesh scale. I don't know, let's set it as 1 for now. Big mesh scale. And now we can set it in here. Rotation should always be just random 360 around the z-axis. And I don't want any offsets in here. So right now, if I will be playing with that, I should be affecting my scale. So let's put it here as 4. I want this tree to be big. Okay, so now I have a big mesh. Let's spawn things around that stuff, and let's use the new thing in the PCG as reroute. I'll name reroute declaration node. And if I remember it correctly, I can just name, is this, no, that's not how it's being called. Control flow. There was a way to just, I think it was that, but big mesh points. I think it went like this, and I could just go here and go big mesh points and use just that one reroute, and it should work out just perfectly. Exactly. Because PCG graphs tend to turn into spaghetti real freaking quick. So they added reroute nodes, so we can just do some operation nodes, send them here, and then use those points somewhere else. Kinda like as if you were saving it as variable, and use other operations in here. Like for example, just put all those points into static mesh spawner. Now, we want to expose this smaller circle, and we want to expose some logic. some parameters for that. We already exposed the first radius, and what we should also do is maybe move it down. What else do we want to play around with here? Probably sample count. That would be good. And I should rename it as first surrounding mesh circle radius. And another one will be named first surrounding mesh sample count. Let's put it as 100 in default. And where the hell is it? Sample count, yes. First mesh sample count, yes. Poisson distance, I'm okay with it. I want to expose these as variables. So I wish I could just go like, hey, how about we and I want to play with that too, up to 90. So latitudinal and angle, and that one I get, no, that one can be achieved with radius. So that one is 0. Yeah, because it just makes it more of a donut. And I can just achieve that with radius. I can go like this, then play with the radius. Yeah, exactly. I can achieve it with radius. $1,500, let's go with that. What I wish I could do is just take my latitudinal and angle and create or turn it into parameter way easier. Like, I wish I could just click on it, select create parameter or something like this, and it would turn it into parameter. And I cannot, at least not yet. So that sucks. But I can just do this, type in here, first surrounding mesh oh my god, that's a hard word. Latitudinal and angle. Oh my god. Let's put it at 90. Only Rose 69 says yellow. Hello, how are you doing? What's up? What's up? Yeah, that works. That parameter. Let's hook it up in here. And now we should be able to play around with this. To create this first circle. Only Rose 69 says learning Unreal Engine without any idea how coding works. Nice, nice. Diving head first. I respect that. I respect that. So you are using blueprints in Unreal Engine, or are you going straight into C++? What time is it? It's this time. Yes. Okay, okay, blueprints. Okay. So how are you going about that? Like, are you trying to make like a small project here and there? Are you going for tutorials or some Udemy courses or something? What is your journey with starting Unreal Engine? trying to make a small game. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. When I was learning how to make video games, Unreal Engine 4 wasn't available yet for free for everyone, so that was out of the question. I had to use Unity, but I remember that's what I started with as well. Like, okay, let me do a simple endless runner, and you know, stumble on each point of creation, right? What kind of small game are you making? What else do I want to expose here? Tower defense. Oh, nice. That's also a really nice entry point for starting learning how to develop games. Seemed easy, you say? Yep. The same way I thought with Endless Runner. Like, yeah, it's just, you know, character running forward. How hard can it get, right? Yes, however, you're... Only Rose69 says, yes, however, I am stuck. Real bad. I get you. What are you stuck with? Something very specific? Point steepness. I think these are all the params that I wanted to expose in here. At least for now. Yeah, and let me add attribute in here as well. The exact same attribute. But instead of a big mesh, we will be making a first surrounding mesh. Yeah. And this is a static mesh, but it is a soft object class. Exactly. And let it be cube as well. And I did something stupid. What the hell did I do? Static mesh. Now it works. I don't know what I pressed. Engine basic shapes cube. Yep. And now I can turn these into some small rocks, or some small something else, but I don't know what yet. Let me go into biome green. Maybe there will be something nice here. Bush yellow. Yeah, how about bush red? Let's see how that will work out. And let me turn off, of course, the projection. Why I couldn't select my bush? Okay. What the? Okay, I got some error in here. Only Rose69. As an answer to my question earlier, what are they stuck with? Well, I made a blueprint for spawning one NPC, one for how a path for it to follow it. However, I'm unable to understand how to make them both fit into one and run the path after spawning. Oh, okay. I see, yeah, that might be a struggle at the beginning. I would use for sure spline components or splines in level to create this path, and I would probably research how to make anything follow a spline. There should be something on YouTube there, and it should propel you forward towards making your NPC run the way you want it to run along the spline. If you want to make it run for a very specific path, if it needs to construct its own path, I would probably look at something called A-star algorithm to create a path, but that might be a little bit too hard at the beginning. But from what I understand, there is a path finding already implemented in AI code and AI blueprints. But I'll be honest, I'm not an expert in AI, so I'm not sure how to go about that. But I would for sure, at least at the beginning, search for following spline. How to make an actor, just a regular actor, follow a spline. And how to create that movement. That could be a good exercise at the beginning. If you're trying to, learn how to make games and learn a little bit more about blueprints. Okay, now what the hell did I fuck up here that I cannot spawn my tree right now? What did I do with those? This is static mesh, of course. And this is static mesh as well. And yet, I cannot force it to select my red bush mesh. Why? If this is the exact same freaking thing. Wait, maybe I just did that and chose cube. I'm not sure. Let me save it. And can I now... I still cannot use that. And I cannot select... What in the holy mother... I love that shit. Okay. First of all, I am dumb. I haven't connected it to my first surrounding mesh. I am dumb. I am dumb. 10 years almost 10 years into making video games, and I'm still making these kind of errors. I added this first surrounding mesh here. It is an attribute. And now let's create named reroute. Add named reroute declaration node. Let's name it first surrounding points. First surrounding points is this. It is spawning those cubes, but I still cannot select it because of course I haven't changed anything about my attribute, and I'm not really sure what is wrong with it. I can search for everything here. Once again, static mesh, object reference. Let's change it. Let's override it. And let's use my bush red. Now I can point to it. Oh, thank God. Now I have lots of small bushes around my tree. Of course, it's not looking natural, but it starts somewhere. It has to start somewhere. And right now, for example, just playing with this one volume, I can do a thing like make it a little bit tighter. And here, make it either more can either make it a full circle or not really, and make it more closer to like a halo. But I wanted a full circle. But I want also a smaller radius. Like something like this. And I would love for them to to have different scales or something, like completely random scales. So that's what I will do here. Thanks to those name reroutes, I can just, you know, create lots of different points, name this big mesh, and I need to adjust my editor settings because it will drive me nuts. Comment. The comment color, default comment in Node. I want this to be completely black. Thank you. This is way more readable to me. Here we have first mesh, first surrounding points. Let's create way bigger comments. Yeah, and I can just do some small processing here and there and make it more readable, because all of my spawning is happening in one place and it's just gathering all of the named reroutes points and just spawns it. Thanks to it, I can have a way easier structure in my PCG blueprint, or PCG graph, really, because it's not a blueprint. And it is way easier to follow then. But I wanted to add a couple of more parameters. Scale randomization, that's the first thing. So let me make it bigger. I don't like the name first surrounding mesh, but I don't have any better right now. Mesh scale min. Let it be 1. Can I just duplicate it? There's no button for duplication. Oh my god. That sucks. Okay. But I can always just do this. Rename it like this. And max. It also will be 1. I want this to rotate always in the 360Z axis. I think I'm good. Transform points, of course. 360 around Z-axis. That should give me random rotation for each point. And now let me get first blah 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 scale min, first blah 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 scale max. Okay, my properties are hooked up, and let's see if yes, let's recompute seed. Set scale directly instead of multiplicatively. Might as well. Absolute rotation. No, I don't need to have this on. And let's see if I will be able to influence via my parameters this stuff right now. 0.3 till 2. Do I still have this bug that everything has the same exact scale? No, not really. I have smaller things, I have bigger things here. The differences, of course, are not as huge, so it still looks very uniformy. But that will do for now, I think. Maybe I could do like 0.1 and ooh, that is super small. Okay. Maybe too small. But right now I'm not trying to make it pretty. Let's maybe make it a half and like a 1.5. My point is to demonstrate how to create those surrounding points using new node of create point sphere. Now let's basically duplicate everything. Yay! And let's make the second surrounding points. Maybe we'll stop at only 2 surrounding points. And what I would love to have here right now is just to be able to select all those variables, click duplicate on them, change their names, and be done with it. But unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So now I have to click and create like second, click rename, second surround. I cannot type for shit. Mesh circle radius, etc, etc. It is kind of a pain in the butt, I'll be honest. And now second, and of course I cannot even type when I'm trying to do things faster. Of course I have to do this. It is such a pain in the butt. Really, it is a pain in the butt to operate on parameters like this. I could pack this PCG inside of a blueprint and then create those variables in blueprint. But then your PCG graph is dependent always on being inside of a very specific actor. That way that I'm doing, which is more painful a little bit, doesn't make it dependent on any actor, because I'm not using any actor property. So let's do it further. Let's just add another one. Let's maybe copy that whole name, paste it, change first into second. Once again, copy display name. I like that. Now rename. Ah, shit. It does it with spaces. I don't like it. Okay. Let's do the same variables. And yeah, and also rename once again. What the? Copy. Rename. It is a pain in the butt. I don't like it. Static mesh. Thank you. Cube once again. And now those scales. Okay, these one will be easier to add. Rename. Such a pain in the butt. I really want them to improve working with parameters here. And the song adequately came on. The song is I'm fucked, I'm in the ass. That's exactly what I think about this workflow with the parameters, but hey, what can I do if I don't want to be dependent on any actor? End angle. Yep. Second surrounding mesh instead of this. And instead of these, second min, second scale max. And instead of putting it into this reroute, we are adding another named reroute, and we call it second points bank, and I can just go to my spawners, get those second points, put it here, and everything in theory should be working. To test it out, I will add something else. Flowers. Maybe flowers or rocks, but these are big rocks. I want singular rocks. Maybe Biome Desert has some singular rocks. No, not really. What is that? Okay, I can have that. Let's get our PCG volume. And we have this small bush, if we see it here, right? Let's play around with that stuff. First of all, let's turn on all of the overrides. Let's make the radius a little bit bigger. How does that look? It looks weird. But you can see how with the new node of, where was it? Here. Of create point sphere using Poisson algorithm and projection, I can quickly create, you know, like surrounding points. Not very optimal workflow for parameters, but I can add parameters and start playing around with that stuff. Changing my meshes and stuff. I can also make it more look more like a halo if I need it for some reason. It doesn't look natural, but I could do it. I could also, in theory, around each and every one of those points, generate another point sphere, right? Because here there is a parameter of origin. And you know what can be an origin? Each point, right? So in theory, I could possibly get my points, treat them as origin, and create point sphere around each one of those points, and add even more small detail around each bush, but that would be an overkill. For now, when I just want to show the new node, let me turn more into full circle. I can make it, you know, like this, a little bit more, or maybe even turn it into full circle, and change, maybe even smaller. Change it into something like this, and maybe I can increase the sample count, right? Sample count, let's do it 600. Now we have way more of these bushes, yellow bushes, and we have something like this. One big point, smaller things surrounding it, and that's great. But now what I can also do, I can have it as input. Instead of creating this point mesh in the center, I can create a pin here, name it center point. It will be a point. I will turn that off for a second. Add this thing here. Delete my whole thing from a level for a hot second, because I want to show you something cool. And in my new nodes experiment, let me just sample get landscape data once again, and sample this whole surface. It is a lot of points. Too many points, right? So let's maybe decrease the sample size. It should be 0.01. That's how I make it a little bit less dense, or maybe even smaller. Now I have lots of random points in here, right? But what I can do is use my PCG graph that I created. Firstly, in graph settings, I can expose it to library, override title, call it big mesh with surroundings, if I can type it. I could override the color of my let it be this category custom. I don't need it creates one big mesh with 2 circles of other meshes around it, and that way I just created myself a graph that I can use here. Big mesh with surroundings. If I go over there, it will do exactly that. I can paste it here, turn that off, and we will see that in each and every point a cube has been spawned. And here in parameter overrides, I can start doing the exact same stuff that I did here and point to red tree, not bush, red tree. And each and every point right now is a whole goddamn tree. I can, of course, change the scale of it. Let's change it to 2. Let them be big. But I might want to only spawn them on a specific height. Like, for example, between 0 and 400. Let's do it once again, just as we did in the beginning of a stream. Filter. Point filter range. We choose attribute position dot z. Minimum threshold. Use constant value between 0 between, I don't know, 400, 4 meters above, or maybe 10 meters above. And we will do this, and we will spawn those trees only almost on the ground layer, maybe just a tad bit higher, and that's it. But that's not the only thing that we want to do here, right? We want to spawn those things. We cannot see them right now, and that is troublesome for me. But let's spawn those. Maybe instead of red bushes, let's use yellow bushes. For some reason, it doesn't spawn right now. That is interesting. We can get into this. I think I know the reason why. It did spawn, but only in the center of that whole thing. Okay. Let's also use this. Once again, the song came perfectly when I fucked up something. We will overwrite all of this. I'm wondering if those overrides for a subgraph will also appear if I select this whole thing. No, it won't. So that's another problem, or should I say workflow stop gap, because I would love to select all those parameters here and select them as being overridable from the parent graph. And I don't think we can do this right now. So I would have to recreate all those parameters here, and that's the way they could show up here. But if I have that problem, I could just pack it into custom made actor and use that workflow. But whatever. First, let's fix our problem that those points here are always created around the origin point here, right? That's not something that we want to do. That's not something what we want to do at all. we have two ways of going about it. Either we can create those point sphere in the center and then copy it to the positions of the center point. This is the old school way that used to work very well. And I want to see if I can loop. I cannot loop over those create point sphere. God damn it. Get loop index. Okay. I would have to rework my whole graph to use the loop workflow. Okay, so what we will do here is something different. First, surrounding points. Before they will be spawned here, we will copy them into the position of a big mesh points. If I remember how to do it, actually, copy points, that's how. Yeah. And I think it. Yeah, I think it went like. This is a source of copy and this is a target of copy. And that will go out here. If I remember it correctly. Yep, I remember it correctly. And the same way here. This is my target, this is my source. And that way, by creating a sub graph and copying on my Poisson points and using my sub graph here, I can just create this forest of things and it doesn't look right. Excellent. That's excellent. My yellow thingies are being spawned here and my... Oh yeah, because I'm spawning yellow bush. Okay, of course. What other bush do I have? Blue? It looks green, but okay. Okay, let it be. Yeah, and let me maybe play a little bit with my overrides in here. First of all, yeah, okay, it can be it. But now, can someone tell me why do I get this weird offset from? I might have an idea, but let's look into the graph once again. I think it gets it from treating it as a... Yep, the error was I was generating these spheres using local space of a volume. Instead, I should have generated them in a global space, because creating them in local space and then copying them over to something that is in a different space, which is global space, introduced an offset, a regular offset. And right now I have a weird forest when each tree has a surrounding yellow bush and that has a green bush. And it only spawns in that specific valley, or however you spell it. And this graph, this graph, big mesh with surroundings, would always work that way. And thanks to those parameters, if I add more parameters, I could, steer the behavior differently. I get to create something like this. And I need a small pause to what? To go get water, because I need it right now. So I'll be back in like a hot second. Excuse me. Alright, I'm back. My name is Slimato. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, what kind of other new nodes do we have here that I kind of want to see? Attract. Interpolate points and attributes from a source data to a target data according. Cluster. I wanted to see cluster. And random choice. Oh, that's a cool node. We can create collision data. That's interesting. Okay. So let's see. Just wanted quickly to see cluster and random choice. Yeah, today is more of a chill stream. I'm not doing any design things, so I'm not jumping up and down out of laughter because something weird is happening with my game. Cluster. How does that work? Okay, let's turn off all the spawning right now. Let's put in here. And let's debug that. Okay, I have my points here, but how are they clustered? No data available? What the? How does the cluster work? There's no data. It's kinda as if... yeah, I'm not... Oh my god! That was so stupid of me. I didn't click the analysis button and I was expecting that the analysis will be showing up here. Okay, I don't need final centroids. I have all this data here. And how do I know which... there's a cluster ID. So I can filter things out by the cluster ID right now, right? Filter by attribute. And I can just go like attribute. No, that's not what I wanted. Attribute filter range. Or maybe just attribute filter. It will also work. And I can just go here. Cluster ID. Use constant threshold. And I only want to use things from the first cluster. And I want it to be exact match. And if I will put it here and analyze that, I only get things from the first cluster. Wow, that's a very powerful thing. Let's turn that off, because it is right now showing only one cluster. It doesn't look great, I'll be honest. What is going on? What if I change that into 1? I have a cluster ID of 1. I'm not sure if it works correctly. Ah, yeah, I made an error, of course. Gather. Let's just gather that. Let's debug or maybe that's not how it works. Debug. Let's just spawn debug cubes. What the hell? Ah, it detected the one cluster in here. Where's my first cluster? The first cluster, it categorized this whole thing as one cluster. And another cluster as this. Cluster of points. And do I have any more IDs in here? There's 0. No, only 3 clusters. 0, 1, and 2nd. Okay. But I can specify how many clusters I want to have here. So let's say, for example, I want to have 15 clusters. Will I have 15 clusters? Yep. That's really cool, because right now I can just select, I want to operate only on cluster number 5. And this is these group of points. And only in this cluster I want to do a very specific operation. Like, for example, spawn rocks. And that's exactly what we will do in here. But only inside of this cluster. Or maybe we'll choose a different cluster. I don't know, 8. This is the cluster branded of number 8 out of all points. Out of all the points, this is the cluster that has been selected as number 8. Which is great, because now I can... I would love some rocks. I have some rocks here. I'm not sure if their material works. No, for some reason some of the materials don't work in this pack. Huh, that's... Maybe here things will work. Mushrooms. Yeah, I have some rocks here. Okay, this material works. Let me add a new mesh entry. And now only in this one cluster of points the rocks will be spawning. It is quite powerful. Okay, that's good to know. I would love to have that exact thing like a year ago. That would be so awesome. Okay, and what was the other thing that I wanted also to check out? Random choice. Okay, random choice. What does that do? We just choose this one specific point? Or ratio of entries. Just choose randomly Out of all points, choose only 15%. Ah, that's also wonderful, because in my professional work I had to create this kind of node on my own, which combined with clusters is very powerful, because I can just, for the gameplay logic, say, hey, sample all of my landscape, right? Sample all of my landscape. Let's say there will be more points. And choose the cluster. Choose the cluster, I don't know. There will be 15 clusters. And then out of this cluster, I only want to have filter, attribute filter, and only select the I only want to select like 6. No. I only want to select the 6 cluster, and out of all these points in that specific cluster, I only want to choose like 10%, 8% of points, and that's where I want to spawn some resource, for example gold or whatever, right? Or fox's nest or whatever. But just this one simple thing, sample all of my landscape, cluster all the points around the landscape into group of points, then let me select a specific or loop over specific clusters, and from each one randomly choose 15% points and apply something to them. For gameplay purposes, I wish I had it like a year ago. It would be so amazing. This is super powerful. Just cluster and random choice nodes. You could do so much gameplay wise. Do I have anything more from those additional nodes and operators that I kind of want to use right now? Not really. Maybe pathfinding. Yeah, let's just use pathfinding quickly, and we will try to create some scene. Pathfinding. How does that work? Aha, okay. I specify start location, I specify end location. And then it tries to find a path. Okay, create the start and end. I will create like very specific transforms. Let's say one is this, the other one is like, I don't know, transform location 800, 8000, 3000 and 100. I'm not sure if it makes sense, but we'll see. And let's input, maybe first let's spawn the debugs of those things. Quickly. And let's see where those points are actually. Okay, they are quite straightforward. But it can be straightforward, why not? Let's put these things as start. I'm not really sure why. Do I have to go like, yeah. I need to input the surface because it needs to have a surface to sample over it to trying to find the path, of course. Cost function, distance, fitness score, cost multiplier. Distance, heuristic way, use path traces, I can do that. As curve or as linear. Okay, and search distance, let's say 5,000. Does it have a path? It found a path. It found something. I don't know really how to view it, but correctly. Output as spline, but how about not output as spline? No, okay. Output as spline. It found some middle point between those 2 points, but I don't know how to use it really. Polyline data. So spline, create spline. Can I just do that? Oh, no. Can I just sample spline? I can. Let me view that. Oh yeah. It found the line. Okay. I see, I don't know, 8, whatever, and absolute, like 5 or maybe 3. Yeah, pathfinding. Pathfinding in PCG, it's awesome because right now I could, for example, let's put this point somewhere even further. Let's put this point 1800, maybe even further. And let's input it like 500 in the air and 8,000. I want to put it through the mountain and see how it will behave. Will it find the correct path? Even more. It's executing PCG tasks and it's trying to find the path of least resistance. And it's kinda doing it, but it goes through the mountain, so it might be still experimental, but hey, it did find it. And I wonder if I will put it like through the top of the mountain, how this will react. Just calculating. It's still okay. It still doesn't go through the mountain. It still tells me that to go around the mountain. That's nice. So how about 0.5? We will need to calculate it. Oh my god, I think I might have killed the Unreal right now. Can I cancel execution? I can. Cancel. It is cancelled. Thank you. Now, please execute it. When I put it into heuristic weight of half, it basically stopped working. Okay, pathfinding. It exists in PCG. Why it might be useful? Because, for example, you want to create a... You have a landscape when you have lots of tall mountains and you have like one castle and another castle or a city or whatever. And you want to create a very naturalistic looking path from one to the other, the trade path. You could work it out on your own via splines, or you can just put the start target at the gates of one city and target at the gates of the other city and let it calculate it on its own via the landscape and use that spline to build your spline mesh or to spawn decals of ground or whatever And however you want to visualize the road, you can do this. A road on the landscape, through the forest, or something like this. This is very powerful. That is awesome. Okay, let's delete this. So, what I will try to start right now, and we'll be continuing on with the next stream, is something like this. Let me get my trusty tablet. Yeah, so what I will try to attempt right now with those new nodes, and not only that, I want to spawn a little bit of a biome here. I want to spawn a little bit of environment. I want to try out and see how it will happen. But the logic I will use is a little bit different than the regular one. I want to treat my whole map as if it was geographical map. And I want to use, if we visualize X and Y axis like this. Am I correct? That's how I want to use it. Yep. X and Y axis. I want to use, let me double check, yes. I want to use Y equals 0 as an equator. And some arbitrary max X and minimum X as a north pole and south pole. And I kind of want to create a distribution of temperature where, maybe make it bigger, where the sun shines the brightest, and, or should I say, the temperature is just the highest along the equator. And the closer we get to the North Pole, the colder it gets, right? So here's where we will start to get a little bit more of a greenland. Here is where we will start to get into the really foresty area. Here is where we will start to go. Into more of a icy or cold forest biome, and here is where we will go into straight up North Pole biome. And the same thing happening on the other side, right? So basically I kinda sorta wanna simulate rules of spawning. The rules of spawning will be based on temperature or naturalistic temperatures. So that means I won't be necessarily creating rules based on, hey, if I place this marker here, this is what will happen, and if I place this marker here, this is what will happen. None of that. I kind of want to just create those quasi-realistic simulation of temperature as a first step. Create this kind of a gradient of the temperature, and depending on what's the temperature in a given place on a map, a subset of possible assets to spawn will be chosen. Then the second step will be elevation, which means how high from the ground are we? From 0, of course, to some z max altitude, right? And depending on that decision, this will select even a smaller subset of things to spawn. And I think those might be 2 rules right now. I am still debating. No, I will try to use the third step. Sample, or should I say, use the water information. Water distance. How close are we to the nearest source of water? If we are closer to the water, we should choose a different subset of our trees than where we are further from the water and we are actually have plants that need to have longer root system to access the ground water reserves. While near water, there will be plants that don't need to have such deep roots because they are super near water, right? Those are like the 3 steps of choosing what should be spawned in a map. First, let's see what kind of temperature, in what temperature zone we are. Are we on the equator? Are we on North Pole or somewhere in between? And it chooses a subset of things that are possible to spawn. Then let's see what elevation are we in. And that chooses from that subset another subset of things. And then what is the distance to the nearest water source? I wonder if pathfinding can output a distance as an attribute. I wonder. That would be cool. Yeah, because I'm imagining I could do a lot of things with that. So that's kinda what I will try to attempt it in the next 20 minutes that I have the stream on, and on the next Sunday. And it might be even longer than that, because I'm not really sure how to really achieve that. It is an experiment to use as much new PCG nodes and as much new stuff that they added in as possible. But for now, what would be cool is to, maybe in the next 20 minutes, to create a graph that will output an information about what biosphere are we in. Are we in the equator? Are we in North Pole? Somewhere in between? How do we create such decision to... How do we create graph logic and data logic in order to reflect this kind of choosing pattern? And that reminded me, there's something called... there's random choice. There's no choosers here. Probably save to PCG data assets might be something that I will be using. Builder settings, I'm not sure. Maybe grammar. We will see. But for now, what would be awesome if I was able to, depending on the, really on the y-axis value, to represent the possible temperature. For now, we will be using just that regular map. Let me delete this whole experimental stuff. Or maybe let's create a new map. Completely new. Open world map. I don't give a fuck about that. Let's save that. Temperature based PCG. Let's try with that. The idea here being that you could just spawn this volume or actor, I think it will be an actor, into the world on any given landscape, and you could just use that. So let's do this. My throat is getting sore a little bit. I was sick like 2 weeks ago. I'm not sick anymore, but I'm still getting out of the funk, if you know what I'm saying. So let's create our new blueprint class. It will be an actor. Let's call it BP temperature based PCG. And then here we will be adding cube, collision, box collision. Let's, out of the box, change the extents. And let's, of course, add PCG. What is that? PCG procedural ISM, experimental instance primitive that is not backed by CPU instance data. Instance data must be written direct to GPU scene. Huh? Does that mean that I could have a graph that will only be dedicated to spawning super small detail and it all will be done on GPU? That sounds awesome. Yeah, we have our graph right now. Let's create our PCG graph. Called PCG temperature based. Let's call it that, because there will be a lot of subgraphs, etc., etc. Now let's reference, of course, our PCG temperature based. Save on compile always. I always want to save. Okay. Now we can bring our bad boy onto a scene. Let's make sure that it has a location of 0, 0, 0. Always. And let's make sure that the box extents are super big. Like, I don't know, 10,000? Oh. Maybe even bigger, right? It is fully underground, okay. It should be even higher. I can put it higher. I don't think Z needs to be in 0. Alright. Now. We are treating our y equals 0 as an equator. So x is dictating how close we are to the North Pole. But we never know what landscape are we dealing with, how big level is, and how big our volume is. So let me quickly turn off all of those experimental meshes. And now we need to establish what is our X maximum and X minimum. I think from what I remember, you could get actor, get bounce. There was something like this. No. Get actor data. Selection by get actor data, and I think you could get bounce from here. And if I debug it, it shows me absolutely freaking nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. So maybe let's create points. That's how it should work out. And then the bounce of that point, no. I can just also go like this. Bounce minus 100,000 in X minus Y. Yep, it works out exactly how I want it. So X is our closeness to North Pole or South Pole. Okay, because what I'm trying to do is to make the North Pole and South Pole position to be procedural. They will always be at the edge of the bounds, right? Of our volume. So can I create like a variable here and call it South Pole X and North Pole X. North Pole X. And I want to set it. Can I set? I cannot. It's weird. I cannot set these parameters from here. Huh. I thought that I could maybe change. Okay. That is kind of wild, but okay. Get attribute, get I wanted to just get bounds min X. I forgot kind of how to do this. Get actor property, not get attribute. Set from index. No, get tags, no, point to attribute set. No, that's not it. Fuck, I kind of forgot how you get it. Was it this? Oh, that's what I wanted. Okay. So now my output target is South Pole X. And I think I can reference it from everywhere, right? I don't think I'm doing it correctly right now. But I have my bounds. Okay, so I want to start spawning things depending on my bounds min X and my bounds max X. How can I get this value? Point filter range. That's not exactly that, I think. Bounds min X. I don't want to filter this out. I just want to get the value of that stuff. Let me quickly go through these things. Maybe I will find there something. Filter data by attribute, by index. What this? That's not what I wanted. Proxy? What is proxy? Okay. That's interesting. Replace tags, get entries count. No, 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 no. GPU, no. Input, output, no. Attribute. Attribute cast, no. Attribute compare, no. Math, not really. Combine, invert. Make rotation, attribute noise, partition, remap, rename, attribute select. Was it that? Oh, but I don't have a point here. Unless there was something like get actor. There was something that I could turn it into a point or something like this. I remember using something that I was treating my actor as a singular point. Get single point, that's what I wanted, exactly. And now still bounds are as this, and then I can go like this. And my attribute will be boundsmin.x. Yes, I have that. I have that. And create attribute. I can just here name it south. No, south pole x. Great. Great. I have that. And I also should get North Pole X. North should be above south. At least usually. North. And this time it will be bounds max.x. And it is 100,000. Exactly. Okay, now I have a most northbound point or a border of it and the most south side points. And maybe let's get the equator, which is 0, and maybe let's spawn things along the 0 axis. Y equals 0 axis. How to actually do that? Create points grid, sphere, spline. Spline? No, that's not something that I want to do. Create points grid, I guess. Yeah, the grid extent should be really, really freaking small. I'm wondering how to do this right now. Right now in my mind, I'm going through lots of ways of achieving either spawning on equator or just spawning the whole thing. I could just maybe get landscape data. I don't need to have a regular grid, right? And of course, sample it. Surface sampler, right? And then I could do a little bit of workout on attributes. That let me think about that. Okay, I have these things, and the closer the position X gets to this, I could do something. So the way I would work that out is minus, no, min, no, not min, subtract, that's what I wanted. And here I want position X. But I want to know first which sign I'm on to understand. Okay, doesn't matter. Let's do this. And of course, output it as close distance to North Pole. And I have a distance to North Pole. This is of course the furthest from the North Pole. This is right almost. Maybe let's, yeah. Okay. I could also do that stuff on my distance to North Pole. Now, all of this is in these kind of values. And now, what I could do with it is, if I am closer to North Pole, I could multiply scale but my North Pole, just to visualize how close I am to North Pole. Let's do that. So now let's multiply. What do I want to multiply? My scale by distance to North Pole. This will be big as fuck, but scale only in Z. Distance to North Pole. And put it in scale Z. And because we are talking about hundreds of thousands, let's maybe also multiply this by one concrete value. Of create attribute 0.001. And now nothing really happens. Now it happened. Oh, it's still huge as fuck. Maybe let's go even. Nah, fuck it. Let's do it like this. Let's do it then like this. Should I just do this? Yeah, and now my scale will be fucked up. Turning Cog asks, hi Turning Cog, nice to see you once again. Do you have an object as your North Pole in the level? No, no. What I'm trying to attempt here is always treat my most, if we're looking at that type of view, my most further on the x-axis wall, or should I say just a bounce, as a North Pole. So that way, however I placed this volume inside whichever level and I extend it, I can always calculate myself where the North Pole is. But I'm also having a small refresher on how do you even work with attributes in PCG, etc, etc. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I right now want to just visualize the distance from the North Pole. Because what I want to create is kind of a rule-based spawning in that sense that if I treat y-axis along the 0 value as an equator, the more north or south you go, the colder it gets. So the first choosing of subset of assets to spawn will be dependent on the geographical position and the temperature assigned to that, right? The second choice, the second rule would be elevation, where, okay, I have some subset, but right now let me see what height different points have, right, above the sea level. And that will in turn make it so I will choose another subset of things to spawn. And the third, but I'm still not like 100% sure if I want to do it or how I would do it. I might have an idea how to start, but if I want to do it, the third rule would be distance from the water. And that will be the final choosing point when it comes to what should be spawned in a given place, or which graph to use to spawn certain things. Something like this. Turning Cog says neat. Yeah, I think it is a cool idea to try out. I'm not sure it would be game shipping ready or anything like this. I just wanted to see if it can be done, how much of a fucked up graph we will have here, etc, etc. And also I'm trying out new nodes in PCG 5.5 preview. To achieve that, I'm not sure even what kind of assets I will be using. I only know that I want something stylized. And if I will have something like this, maybe I could modify, add more steps to it, maybe some kind of a turning of seasons or something like that. I'm not sure. It is an exercise. We will see how it will go. But goddamn, I'm near the end of today's stream. Most of that work I will have to do on the next stream. And I just got into it. Because before that I was just going through new nodes in PCG just to learn what I'm working with, right? But okay. I have my scale completely messed up in here. Let's see if what I did, which is Z scale as visualizer, how far we are from North Pole. That is messed up, but I'm not sure why I have a... I'm not sure why yeah, there are points here, but they are super small. In here. But yeah, the closer we are getting to the pole, the more messed up those scales are. I have to do some proportional clamping in here, just to introduce some better values. Turning Cog says, there is a Cinti stylized bundle for cheap on Humble. Oh, okay, I will look on Humble bundle. For sure. For sure. Right now, I'm trying to create this rule set. Okay, what kind of other math nodes do I have? I have math ops in here. Clamp mix, clamp minimum, and clamp. Okay. I have lerp, I have min, modulo, negate. Okay, transform rotation. Trigonometry, okay, vector. More rotator abilities. Okay. Merge attributes. Casting, equal, greater. Okay. I can just clamp my distance to North Pole. Input source and do it here and create attribute. I want this to be minimum clamp of, let's say, 1. So that's what you should clamp as first, and the other one, let's say 1000. It won't be super detailed, but who cares? Let's see how that will work out. It should basically create a brick wall at some point. And nothing happened. Okay. I love that. Of course, I should have typed in Z and Z. And I have error. What is the error? Yes. Oh. And I crashed the engine. Close without sending. I know why it crashed. Probably I introduced some division by 0 or something. Nah, let's skip restore. Actually, I don't want to restore this thing. But open my assets, yes. I hope I saved the level. It's supposed to be scale Z. And this also be supposed to be scale.z. And let's see if I saved the level. Which... Okay, I have it here. And I think this will be the last thing for today. Oh my god. It still doesn't work out like I wanted it to. It just creates a brick wall in here. And there's completely nothing in here. Okay, show me the money. What's going on here? The scale should be clamped, but it isn't. That's nice. Okay, what is going on? Scale.z should be clamped between 1 and 1000. And it isn't. If we were to... What the hell? Yeah, 1 and 100. Okay. Sure. But why does it only spawn on the outside of that? That is weird shit. Show me the landscape sampling. What? What the hell is going on? Okay, I think I know the bug. What is going on here? Now. Yes, now it should work out. Not as great as I wanted it to, but okay. Let me maybe clamp it to 0.2. Still not what I wanted. Okay, I have to work out this thingy because those things here is supposed to be super small. Or should I rather say, yeah, near the North Pole should be small. And going further, they should be getting bigger, 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 and bigger. I think, okay. So this is the closest to the North Pole. I need to figure out for the next stream how the math to calculate the distance from the equator, actually, not from the North Pole. So that's the thing that I messed up. Or maybe, could I just... Because I've been using here as a subtraction, but what if I just use... Not create points, god damn it, create attribute. And it is 0. Distance, okay, it can be called distance to North Pole for a second, hot second. Position, yeah, X, actually. Position X, and from 0. Now the biggest shit, the smallest shit should be on equator. The tallest shit should be outside of equator. Or, if we reversed it, we also need to reverse that. It should create the exact reverse. Huh? It didn't. Okay, what am I doing wrong in here? Position.x. Okay, right now I'm in a hurry because I need to finish the stream at the second, but why? Wait, what? Why is it in red? Okay, I messed up something in the graph, but for the next stream we will for sure be trying more to calculate, you know, those biome zones depending on how far we are from the equator. We'll be trying to assign some temperature to attributes, and then we will try to figure out how to create those data sets and how to create properties for them, so we could actually do some rule-based spawning inside of a PCG. Ah, yeah, now I know why I made a mistake. Okay. Sure. So, I think that will be all for today. I went through lots of those notes in the Unreal Engine public roadmap. We looked at elevation isoline and how to use it and what is the what could be the usage cases. The pathfinding node was also cool. Elevation was cool. The cluster was fine as well. Random choice, create point sphere especially was cool. Let me get inside here. Yeah, save selected. Oh no, I didn't. I'm a Dumbo. You know the experiments. Yeah, let's put it here. Let's make it bigger. Why it's not spawning? Ah, because I turned all of that off, of course. Let's enable it. And why is it not working again? Ah. Isolines. Or I crashed the engine. Trying to quickly summarize what I did. Usual stuff. Yeah. We can spawn along isolines. That was cool. We also created based on the sphere Poisson creation. This won't work right now because I changed the logic of it. Yep. But we're able to use the create point sphere and Poisson and projection to create a tree and points around it, and it was way easier than the previous engine versions ways of creating things around the point, which was cool. Yeah, I think we will be using even more of those new nodes and pathfinding and spline meshes once we will get to actually establish some rules and we will be spawning this scene. So today we could treat it as more of a, hey, let's get back to PCG, to new nodes, let's get through them. It is a small intro, and the next week I will be trying to figure out more of the rule set when it comes to spawning depending on your geographical position and the temperature connected to it. So I think that's it for me today. It was more of a chilled out stream, looking through PCG, and yeah, I think that's me. Have a good day, guys. See ya. Where the fuck do I click? Here.